It's cold out. It's really cold. So I got my jacket on. Welcome to a new week. Thanks for coming by, stopping by, doing what we got to do. Week 52. This is our last week of the first year of doing the workshop, and I'm pretty happy. I'm pretty excited about it. I know that I told myself that I would give myself at least a full year of trying to work in this shop as much as possible, and we've made it. And we got there, and it's really important to me that I got there because, when you're younger and you say you want to do stuff and things just get in the way, or you don't feel like doing it and that kind of stuff, getting myself to the position where I want to be in the shop took some work, and it made me realize a lot of things over the years. Too many to count and talk about all of them. One of the things that I did that helped me is make sure I come to the shop even when I didn't feel like it. And even if I wasn't working in here, I would just sit in here and just let the environment tell me what to do. And that's one of the things for this week's project. That's one of the ways that this week's project came to be. Is I had an idea to make a fire pit this week, and I was just gonna weld shoes into a bowl, and then put some legs on it, and it was gonna be a fire pit, and we're still gonna do that. But I was sitting in here yesterday, and I was just kind of sitting and just thinking, just on my phone scrolling, like you do. And then I realized it was getting colder outside, and the snow just started going. It's blizzarding out right now. I don't know if you can see over by the door. I obviously didn't seal the door very well when we put that seal in. So we got a snowdrift inside. And I thought, maybe it's not the best week to make a fire pit. Nobody's going to want to put a fire pit outside in, 3 feet of snow. Snow drifts are getting to 3 feet. Hasn't snowed 3 feet, but in this area, especially since we're in a flatter area, the wind just carries snow until it can't anymore, and then it just drifts up. So just right outside the door to our apartment, I stepped into the snow to get to the shop, and it went right up past my calf. So yeah, that was fun. Anyway, I think I shoveled the cement pad outside of our apartment probably 3 times today already, and it's only noon. Just because I like to keep it snow-free and clean. Anyway, so I was sitting and I was debating what to do, and one of the guy, we made an anvil stand months ago, I think, a couple months ago. And the guy that we made the anvil stand for, awesome guy, Courtney's old farrier mentor, gave me a bucket of really old rusty rasps. I'm pretty sure I've showed it before, but he just keeps them all in a bucket, and then he just gave them to me. And they look like this. They almost all look like this, just really rusty. He left them outside, which is fine. I mean, they're old, they're used up, they're done, so there's no point in keeping them clean. And so one of the things I wanted to do is I wanted to start trying to use them. And I thought to myself, I'm like, I wonder if I can fold a rasp in half, just with the anvil and stuff, no cutting, no none of that kind of stuff. And I wanted to see if I could make a horse leg. So I made this guy, and I did get it mostly in half, and then I stopped. When I got about here, I could keep working on it, and then I stopped, and then I realized, I said, well, if we did this, and then it twisted up, and it came back, it could actually twist up into the back of like a horse statue or something. And I was pretty happy with how this guy turned out. This is obviously not something I'm going to be able to use in its current state, but it gave me an idea. And my idea is, let's make something fully out of rasps. since we have so many rasps just kind of sitting over there, we don't use them as much as we use horseshoes. Our horseshoe stock is getting a little bit lower, and if we want to do a bigger project with horseshoes, I'm going to have to acquire some more. So I'm in the process of well, Courtney's in the process. I'll admit that she's just going to message a bunch of her farrier friends and see if they have a stockpile I can just pick up. There are a bunch of people that have said in the past that I can come and pick them up, so we're just going to confirm that. So anyway, what I did is I took the rustiest rasp in that bucket, a couple of them, and I just started forging them. And I wanted to see if I could get all of the rust off the rasps without having to bring it to the wire wheel. And it's worked out really, really well. Like this guy was just like this, and I just stuck it in the forge like that, and then got it hot, gave it a quick wire brush on the anvil, and then as I started forging it, all the rust just came falling off, which is awesome. So I've made some pieces for a statue. We're going to do another horse, just because that's generally what's on the brain. But I want to make it kind of smaller, about this size that you can see here. And yesterday I was just in the mood to just kind of pound on stuff. And so what I've done is I've made some pieces. And I haven't cut them yet because we're going to cut them. We have to cut them. But I've made some pieces for this particular project. And I think one of the things that I'm going to do is keep making some pieces, and then I'm going to try to start cutting them and putting them together. So we got this guy, which is we started to fold in half and then stopped because this is going to be the top of the neck and going into the back. And then we've created this piece that can finish off going to the back and down into the hind end. I haven't decided exactly how long this is going to be just yet, but it's going to be within a few inches of what it looks like here. And then this piece came out really well. One of the things I'm trying to do is not disrupt the look of the rasp on this side. This side is not as important because it's going to be on the inside. But obviously, forging is going to flatten a bunch of them, but I don't want to lose the look of them. And so this guy, just the bottom of the neck into the jawline. The jawline will probably come around here. And then figuring that out with rasps is going to be interesting. And then we have the belly. So I've just put a little curve into it, and then I've brought it back up here to go underneath between the hind legs. And we're going to put it on an angle because we're going to try to make this statue a horse jumping. So I've made a couple of pieces as well that are going to help us join them together. So I've made this guy. Now this guy looks weird, but we're going to cut off the non-rasp end, and then we're going to cut it down here, and this is going to be part of the neck. Now the thing with horse necks is they're like I think I need to fix this a little bit more because this is too sharp, and so I need to bring this further out and then back down. But the thing with the horse necks is going to the top of the neck, it's fat, and then going underneath where their throat would be, it gets really skinny into this piece. So I want to try to make sure that we try to, I want to try to make sure that, we try to get all of the aesthetics of what a horse looks like in place on this little guy. And I say little, but he's still going to be fairly big, but little is, he's going to be the smallest sculpture statue we've made. I think he'll still be even smaller than the eagle. So, well, that's the thought, but things tend to get bigger as you work on it. So I made this piece as well, which is going to be similar to this one. And so I think I'm going to fix them both. And then they're going to kind of sit in the neck. And then that's going to try to give us what our neck looks like. So I'm going to have to really work on that if I want that shape to go the way I want it to. So these were just figuring out what they were going to start looking like. I'm going to put them back in the forge and just try to get them kind of the way that we want. So I really need to make sure that we get that a little bit better. This little piece actually started splitting on me. I'll show it to you, which I thought was interesting. So rasps are high carbon steel. And but if you can see, I don't know if you can see that split right there. Yeah. We're still going to try to use the piece. But if it breaks, it breaks. It's fine. It's high carbon steel. So the thing is that it's really fragile when it's been hardened. And farriers like to throw these around. Like they'll just throw them and that kind of stuff. And that can create cracks within the meat of the metal. And looks like I had just found one. There's a bunch on this one. So I have a feeling this one was thrown around a bunch. I'm still going to try to use it because when we weld it all together, it should hold it together just fine, and I think it will give it some character. And then there's this piece here, and this is going to be part of the body. Again, we're going to cut it into the places, cut it to the places we want it, and then I'm going to try to get this body to try to give us the look. Now it's more rounded. Horses have a more rounded belly if you look at them sideways. So that should work. But again, we got some of our bends are still a little too not curvy. They're just a little too I don't know what the word is, but you get what I'm saying. It's like there's this sharp bend here, whereas we want it to be all curvy. We got everything else good, but this sharp bend, unless that's where I cut it, that's why I stopped forging this one. It's because that might be where I stopped cutting it. That's where it might be where I cut it. Because we don't want this guy to be fat and big and huge and all that kind of stuff. We're just going to try to take it one step at a time. And so over in our pile of broken and cut rasps, we have lots of these pieces, and so I'm going to start using those to try to gauge how we want everything to work. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to just take some time. I'm going to try to make a couple of pieces the way we want them to, and then we're going to figure out spacing, and then I'm going to cut them, and we're going to get them put together, and we'll see where we're at. And so I'm going to just take some time now and work at the forge, clean up another rasp, and get another belly piece done. Because we're going to try to do the belly and the neck first, where the legs go on both front and back. We're going to leave them empty and blank for now, because we want to, like, unlike the other statues that we've made, like the deer and the reining horse, we didn't put a lot of definition into the shoulder areas or the hip areas of the horse, where those actually bulge out quite a bit on a horse. But it wasn't something that we put a lot of effort into trying to figure out how to do. And so this time I'm going to try to do some of that. And so I'm going to put a couple belly pieces in, put a couple of neck pieces in, and get all of this one solid thing. And we're only going to work on one half of the horse until it's done. And then we'll flip it over, create all those pieces again, and put it on the other side. The belly pieces, the neck pieces shouldn't be a problem to create. I should be able to create them pretty quick, probably even today for this side of the horse. And then I'm going to leave chunks of emptiness that we can fill in with pieces of rasp after, especially around the hind end. Again, we want to bring it down, but we want to make sure that the leg is going to fit in there. So a lot of these things it's just going to take time of me staring at it and forging and then testing and then forging and then testing. So what I'm going to do is we're going to go. I'm going to cut some of these up, see how well they marry together, heat them up if necessary, get them to the way we want them. And then when we come back, I'll lay them out on the welding table, and then we'll start joining together and see what we got looking. So I'm pretty excited about this. I can't wait because I really plan on brushing the whole thing after. It's gonna shine. We're not gonna leave it this forged gray look. We're gonna actually shine it up. We're gonna finally use our cup wire wheel, and we're gonna try to grind down the welds. We're gonna try to make everything as pretty as possible. And if it works out, awesome. And if it doesn't, we're going to learn how to work with rasps, because just doing this alone was work for me because I don't have a lot of good hammer control. And so like it started folding in other areas, and when I tried to fix it, it started buckling in some areas. And so when it comes to the legs, because I want the rounded rasp to be the legs, that's going to take some work. But starting with the legs first didn't go well with the last sculpture, so we're going to just start with the body. And I have no idea. I don't even have a vision on how the head is going to look. So everything is going to get done, and then we'll try to piece together a head when we go around it. Bending a rasp, I assume that I'm going to want to bend the rasp not this way, but this way. And that's going to take some effort because they don't want to bend that way. And so in order to do the jawline, we're going to want to do that. I'm going to try not to cut very many rasps. Like obviously we're going to cut the ends. We're going to cut them to fit in these places. But I'm going to try not to cut strips of rasp out to fit in places. We're going to have to do it for stuff like the ears and the mane and the tail. But I have an idea for the tail that I'm kind of excited about. But I'm kind of worried that I'm going to have to cut up tiny little pieces and stick them in and then weld them, and it will look poopy. So I'm going to try my best to just leave the rasps intact as much as possible while we do this. So it's very visually a rasp structure. So we'll come back when I have a really good idea of what the layout looks like and what the welds are going to look like on the first couple pieces. Thanks for being here. All right. So we got the pieces semi together. Now I've made a decision that it's pretty flat. That I don't want to fully weld anything together on this project until it's pretty much done. If things start falling apart on me, then I'll add some more welds. But for now, everything's just going to get tacked in the corners, just like you just saw. And then there's going to be gaps that I'm going to have to try to fill and all that kind of stuff. And I want to kind of just do that all at the end and then get it grinded and brushed up nicely at the end. So that's why it's just a quick tack here and there. Now, I've only done the two pieces for the one in the neck, the one in the body. I just really want to sit with it for a couple of minutes, maybe half a day. I'm going to make some more pieces in the meantime, But I don't want to put anything else on until I'm sure that I enjoy the way that this is looking. When I look at it down this way, it's giving me a really good vibe, right? So we got the belly that overshadows the neck, but when you give it a little bit, that neck definition is there. I'm really liking how the neck's coming out. It looks a little weird with just one piece on it, but I figure after all of the other pieces have been made and then tacked on, this will really start to come together as a project I'm happy with. The thing is that everything is so curvy. These are the only two pieces I'm going to be able to put on without any grinding or cutting. I mean, I could, like this bottom guy sticks out a little bit, but I'm going to fix that with the grinding after all the welds are done. This guy's almost perfectly matched up, which is great. Same with this guy. There is a piece at the bottom here that just needs a little bit of love. And then up here, it's looking actually pretty good. I just need to fill the weld there, and then we'll be good. However, the next piece of the neck, this guy, is going to be poking out quite a bit here in order to keep it in line with this guy. So I'm going to have to do some really good angled cuts and some grinding just to make it sure it marries up nicely next to the other one. And when I'm putting the tacks on, I got to make sure I just put them on the top and not on the insides of the corners like I'm so used to doing, just because I need everything to kind of just marry up next to each piece. And then I'm going to shape each piece individually for this guy. So it's going to be a lot of work. I'm hoping it won't take a lot of time though. But like this piece here should actually go pretty well. But this is where the leg's starting. So I have to weld it and then bring it out a little bit. And so the rasp is either going to have to twist or I'm going to have to fill it with something. So that's a later me problem. And then I did make the hind end piece. I don't know if or when I'm going to put it on. I don't know if I like it yet. I know that I want to make sure that the legs are coming together, I think, a little bit sooner, because the leg starts here. So it encompasses this whole area. And so I want to make sure that when I'm doing the leg, that I didn't put this on and put it in the way. It's another reason why I'm tacking everything. The main reason I'm tacking everything is just if I need to take a piece off, that I can just rip it off and start again. So for example, if I go and put another piece on here, and then I realize that this is the piece that needs to change in some fashion or another, I can just pull it off fairly easily, and then fix it and put it back. The body pieces, the connections on the body pieces here aren't really that great, but most of that not greatness I've tried to make sure that it's hiding on the inside. So since we're gonna have this thing fully covered, hopefully, then it should not be an issue. So the angle that this thing is going to sit on is about this. Obviously, it can tilt a couple degrees here and there. And because I want the hind legs to come out this way, because he's going to be jumping, and then the front legs are going to start here, and then they're just going to come out and curl. Those front legs are going to be pretty hard to do. But again, I just want to get this all filled in and whatnot. And like I said, we're going to just work on one side at a time. So I'm going to fill in a couple more of these pieces. And I don't know how far this way I want to go because of the jawline starting right here. So I think one more here. We're going to have to cut it and measure it and all that kind of stuff for here. That one's going to be an interesting one to do because I'm going to have to heat it up and bend it in, but also still try to keep the same profile. So that's going to be fun. This one looks like it's going to go pretty well. And then from here, after this one, is when I need to start thinking about how the shoulders of the front legs start. So we'll do the same thing here, but then it won't marry up to here right away. It's going to go into the leg as opposed to the body. So that's what I'm working with. And then I don't know, I think I can come to about the weld marks here. So maybe two more of these sections here. And then I can worry about the legs. Yeah, I can worry about the legs here and here. So it's only a couple of pieces to be added. But again, I want to sit with it for a couple minutes while I create a couple more. These guys are really easy to make. I'm just heat them up and bend them over. But now that we have the shape established, they all have to be very close to the shape that we've already put on. So, and then the other side is going to be a little difficult because I'm going to have to try to make sure I copy this almost exactly. And so, yeah, it's going to be an interesting build, but bear with me, and hopefully we get this done this week. I really want to just put a lot of effort into it, so we're going to keep pushing forward. I'm going to just live this sitting here and then stare at it every second I get. So we'll be back, hopefully with some progress. Hello, welcome back. Here we go. So I've been working pretty hard on a couple of pieces here for this guy, and it's not going the way I want it to. So we're going to talk about it, and then I'm going to shift gears, and we'll come up with something a little bit better, I hope. So you can see here that I've added a bunch of pieces. Now the ones that are actually welded on, with the exception of this one, I'm happy with. This one is just not great, but I think I can work around it. So I've worked on making a bunch of pieces, just here and there. Just as I had the forge running, I just kept making pieces and that kind of stuff. I started trying to curve one around like this to see if we can do the jaw line later on. But when I started adding pieces into the main body here, I came with a problem. So I'll show you here. So with these three pieces in the neck, I'm enjoying how they're done. And then these three pieces in the belly, that's all we've really attached onto. This fourth piece, it kind of isn't working for me, and neither is neither is the pieces I've made for the first part of the shoulder. So what my thought process here is that I would create the shoulder and then the hind leg coming into the hind end, and I would come off of the spine and the belly straight into them. And so it would leave a gap here that I figured we would just create something to fill that gap with afterwards, and that would require a lot of cutting and forging, that kind of stuff, which I was open to. And then I realized as I was doing these ones, so these guys I forged around just like I was doing the neck pieces, but then I wanted to bring them out into what the shoulder of the leg would look like. And then we'd bring the leg down, and I curved it under. So we wanted it to come up a bit, and then we curved it under, and then we would create a piece to attach in here. And then the front leg would come off this way, because remember, we're going to come off this way and curl the leg all the way around, so then it's up like it's jumping over a jump. And what I've come to realize is that I hate the way it looks. So I can't get the definition that I wanted right here. As you can see here, I was trying to get like a bump up. Now, if I wanted to, I could forge that into there, but it would really ruin the look of the rasp and it wouldn't flow very well. And so it's not going very well. So it would kind of look like that, and then we would do two pieces to do that with, and they would so they would they would both come down like this, and then that would be the beginning of the leg down here, but we don't have any of the definition here that we want to show that the leg is starting here and not down here. And again, same thing with that side. These would be popped up quite a bit just to bring the leg out and that kind of stuff. And then we'd have to fill this gap here. And I hate it. And I hate it, I hate it, I hate it. I hate it for a couple of reasons. One is that in order for me to forge this into the shape that I'd want it to be, I'd have to kind of ruin the look of this side of the rasp. I could just bend it in the vise and then bend it back and then bend it and then bend it back and then just keep going. But that's how we're going to form more cracks. This piece has got a bunch of cracks in it, which I'm fine with the cracks, but I don't want to have like very predominant cracks everywhere. And then also creating all of the little pieces, the little triangle curved little pieces to fit in there, and then welding them on and then grinding them in these tiny little areas is going to be really, really hard. I'd have to use the Dremel, and it would just take a lot of time just to get them down. It's really cold in here right now. The heater is going full force, and I haven't turned the furnace on yet since I've come in. So the furnace, the forge. So it will warm up in here once I start going, but if you see me shaking, that's why. It's really cold outside. So anyway, so what I think I've decided to do is we're going to scrap this whole process. We're going to rip this guy off of here just like that. He was welded, just tack welded on, but I don't like it, and so we're not going to keep doing it. What we're going to do is we're going to finish the body without worrying about any of the legs first. We're just going to finish the body on both sides. And so I'm going to use these pieces, I'm going to cut them to size, and I'm going to forge them, and then I'm going to just try to finish into the body. And then, so I'm going to actually have to cut some rasps into certain shapes, because you can see here, we have a triangle, and I knew this was going to happen. But I want to have the biggest pieces possible into here, because right now I'm going to have to cut a rasp into a triangular shape towards the top here, bring it down, and then I'm going to have to do another one. Hopefully it's only going to take 2 to do, right? And so that means we're going to have weld marks just in here, which I think is great, because it's going to come right off of this joint here. And then we'll have a weld mark here, and then it stops about midway, and then we have the weld marks coming around the stop. So it should be okay. But either way, we're going to finish the body fully. I'm going to just finish this side here, and then flip it over, and then do all of the other side. And while I'm working on that, I'm just going to try to get this hind end working. The thing about this hind end is that I need these guys that I've curved, but I've also put a curve all the way through the center of them, just like we did with the spine and the belly. And so what I want to do here is I want them to pop out just a bit, but we also have to angle them. So I'm going to have to cut them into a curved shape like this. So when they're together, it's actually going to be like this, and then they kind of overlap. But I don't want them to overlap, so I'm going to have to cut these pieces to get this in here. And then hopefully, as I create more of these, it will just round around the back on its own. And so I don't actually have to worry about putting a back end here, because these will do it for me. That's the hope anyway. But that's going to come after we do both sides like this. And then we're going to create the leg pieces and put them over the body. And then, so if this is on, and then we create another piece, and then I'm going to put it over onto the body itself, and then I'm going to weld it to the middle of wherever we're at. And then we can grind it there instead of all of the little pieces. And then I should be able to twist and form those rasps however we want them to be without worrying about how they attach to the rest of the body too much, except for up here. They still will attach underneath, but it won't matter as much. So that's the plan. So I spent a bunch of time creating these pieces and creating the hind end pieces and really trying to figure out like how I can get the legs to be forged into it at the same time. That's why this guy was welded on, because I thought that would work. The hind end would work better than the front legs. But all in all, it just didn't go the way I planned. So if we're going to do the front legs the way we're going to do the front legs, we're going to do the hind legs the same way. And hopefully I didn't waste a whole bunch of time, because I was learning. But so I'm going to take some time now. I'm just going to forge some pieces and try to just fill this gap. I'm going to have to forge them and then tilt them a bit and get them and really try to get them in there, and then bring them up into there, and that's where it's going to take some time. But I'm excited because it's actually looking more or less the way that I envisioned it. This thing is way bigger than I wanted it to be, which happens a lot when we're creating things. I didn't think that making a 1 rasp long horse would have been big enough, but 2 long is going to be pretty big. So I'm going to take the time. I'm going to heat up the shop with the forge. I'm going to just pound on some rasps and just get them to where we want them to be. I'm going to weld them into place. And when we come back, hopefully I'm figuring out the back end, or I have an idea on how that's going to happen. And then after that's done, it's just the legs and the head. The head we're going to wait till the very end to do, I think. I think we're going to do the legs first. Yeah, and the good thing about this is I'm not going to have to strap it down to the table or anything like that. I could just flip it back and forth, that kind of stuff. It's not as big as the last sculpture that we did, so it should be all right. But yeah, that's where I'm at. So just a little update, and we'll be back when I get a couple more in here. Oh man, have I had so many issues. So it's been a couple of days. As you can tell, I've already washed and reworn the same shirt. So this has taken quite some time and a lot of issues. And a lot of issues I'm just leaving alone for now. I wanted to be a lot further along. I think I said earlier in the video that I wanted to finish this week. That's not going to happen. This is the end of this week. Where to start? Where did we leave off? That's the question. So, got little pieces in there. So I finished the body, and I do not like almost all of it. The one side of the neck is good. The other side is shallow and not great. I'm going to try to pick this guy up and show you all of the issues I have and what my plans are maybe to try to fix them. You can also see here that on the back end, I did opt, again, to go back. Instead of just finishing the hind end and then putting the legs over top of it, I decided I'm going to try to build the legs with the hind end, which means we have big, huge holes back here that we're going to have to try to fill. Maybe. Who knows? We might leave it empty. It might look cool empty. We'll see. I got to make sure I don't hold it by any of these rasps that still have their tangs on them. I can't, they're barely holding on. So if they fall off during this process, then they fall off. Anyway, it's coming along. It's starting to look kind of like a horse. Looks like a horse wearing a skirt right now, but that's going to change. And so you can see the neck. This is the second side that I did. And when I was doing, let's start on this side. This is the first side. This is the original side that we first did. And you can see that we have more of a gradual up into here, whereas on the other side it's not as gradual. And trying to get these angles and twist the rasps into the way I wanted them to posed to be a huge problem for me. I'm not good at it. I couldn't figure it out. So you can see here that we got some really big gaps coming in here. And then again on the bottom, you can see this really big gap. This one, and then this one. That one's really big. And that's because of this side not being as gradual as this side. And I didn't notice a lot of these problems until later on. And so when I started to do this side, here I'll show you again on this side really quick. There's bigger gaps on this side too, between the rasps. Now, I hate them. I hate the back gaps. My vision for this project was just all the rasps and then beads, weld beads all the way through, and then we grind the weld beads down to niceness and polish it all up. That's still kind of the plan, but some of these welds are going to be fat, and I'm going to try to fill a lot of these gaps with weld. Obviously, I can't do that here, right? And some of these are going to be way too, not great. So I'm going to fill them with some of the cutoff pieces that we have laying on the floor. We have lots of rasp cutoff pieces everywhere, and some of them are almost perfect to fit in these little areas. Like I found this guy. He's perfect to fit in there. So we'll tack him in there, and then we'll finish off doing all of our welds when we do that. The good thing about most of this is that this is where the shoulder for the front legs are going to end up going over anyway. So I can cover a lot of this problem. These two gaps under here are going to be under the legs. So that's okay. The only problem they really have is how shallow this neck is, and then it just comes up here, whereas it's not the same on the other side. There's a little bit more of a gradual incline into the belly. When it comes to the hind end, this is posing to be a kind of an issue as well. Same kind of thing here. I'm getting better at it, at making little pieces to fit in the little triangle pieces that are coming out of finishing the end. So we just curved and rounded out some rasps, and then I just finished putting this guy in. And again, we still have gaps. We have lots of gaps, but those ones I think are going to be fine. And then you can see on the hind end where it comes out quite a bit, and that's because if the horse is jumping, the legs go back a bit. And so it's going to be angled like this, like straight up almost, 45 degrees up. And then the legs are going to come out. and then they're going to go back. And then we have the hooves and stuff. So I haven't finished the other side of the hind end because I ran out of rounded, like created rasps for this project. I have to make 2 more for this hind end. And I've just run out of time. I've just completely ran out of time. Trying to fit these pieces in, these 3 pieces, into the shoulder area of both sides took me hours. Just because I was, like, if you, like, I don't know how well you can see this, but these are beat up really bad. Like, I had to heat them up, bend them, heat them up, bend them. I cold bent them. I was bending them with whatever I could find to try to get the meticulous bends that I needed for that to happen. I've learned a lot on what to do in this kind of a situation. If I were to make another one of these, I definitely would probably go a little bit different. I might even do the rasps long ways, but I'm not sure if that would work any better. But I keep flip-flopping on how I was going to do the hind end with all the rasps wrapping around this way. And then I ultimately decided on trying to build the legs out of the hind end and all of that. So we're just going. There was another problem, is that one side, this side that's facing you, the belly is fatter than the other side. I mean, you can't really tell, but I know it's there. And when I originally welded on the first 3 rasps on this underside here, I could tell immediately. So I had to cut them all off, shave them down, and put them back on, and they're still too big. So that's something that came out of that. Is I think I would probably build the matching side. I really enjoy just building one side first, mostly first, and then flipping it over and then start building the other side. I enjoyed that process because it just allowed me to just keep going instead of constantly flipping back and forth. But I think what I would do is that for every piece that I make for the one side, I would make an identical piece and just put it aside. And then so when I flip it over, that I already have all of the same size pieces for the other side. But not all horse bodies are completely symmetrical, just like human bodies. So that's okay. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to end this week, and I'm going to go and try to get this video out tonight. It's Sunday already, which is crazy. But it's been really cold. It's been really hard to work in the shop. Even with the forge running, sometimes my feet were just kind of chilly. So it was just uncomfortable. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that, and then when we start the next video, it's going to be, this is week 52, so that'll be week 53. I haven't decided on changing the naming of the videos yet, if I should start something different, or if I should just keep numbering them. I'm leaning towards just keep numbering them and see how high we can get. But we'll see. We'll see. But I'm going to finish this hind end, and then I'm going to have to either take it off. So what I'm going to do is, obviously the tangs aren't staying. So all of these pieces down here, there we go. All these pieces down here have to get cut. And I'm going to have to fill underneath in here. So my thought process is, what I might do is I might weld all these pieces together very nicely. So then I can take it off all as one piece. And then I can put the pieces underneath that I'm going to need to attach underneath without these things being in the way, because that'd be too harsh and problematic. And then I can put them back on, and then I can cut these into the shape that they're going to be. Like, this is going to get cut pretty high up here, and then it's going to come down. So it's going to get cut up here, it's going to come down, and then we're going to build the rest of the leg underneath it. So that's why I didn't cut off the tangs, is because I can just cut them off whenever I want. and it was easier for me to hold and bend. And the longer the rasp is, the easier it is to bend, which just makes sense. So yeah, so that's the plan there. So when we come back next week, we'll be picking up kind of where we left off. I'll probably have the back end done, and I think I'll try to get the back legs done right away, and the front legs. We're going to try to finish this in 2 weeks, because I wanted it done this week. It's not done this week, so I'm going to try to get. I don't know how I'm going to do the front right shoulders or the front shoulders at all. I have no idea how that's going to go. And then the head is still a complete mystery. I don't know how I'm going to do that either. But I do have some ideas on how I want the hind legs to look. And I really need to see if this is too big. This seems really, really big, but I am going to cut it down. So we're gonna see. I have no idea. Not a clue on how I'm going to finish some of these parts. But I'm having fun. I'm enjoying it. Don't get me wrong. I'm enjoying myself. It's just frustrating sometimes. I wanted to just stop at some point in time. I wanted to actually come in here today. My plan was to come in and film something completely different for this week. I was going to make some hoof picks and stuff because I want to do those. And then I was going to take all the footage that I made this week and put it into next week and also try to get it finished. But I ultimately decided that, you know what, let's just do it in order. The more I work on this guy, the better. So taking the hours, like today I put almost the whole back end on. And if I would have not done that, then I would have been pretty farther behind than I would like to be. So thanks for watching. Thanks for hanging out. If you have any ideas on how I can do this geometry better, hit me up. Throw it in the comments, whatever. But I'm learning, which is the best thing. So we'll see you again next week, and hopefully we have this guy done. He's way bigger than I thought he would be. Have a good week.